Okay, so anybody who goes on Reddit, you will notice how many threads are coming up recently about how top lane sucks, and especially like all the Shinshin threads, and more you see how much people complain about top lane. I think top lane has its faults, but I honestly think top lane is in a pretty good spot right now compared to what it's been in the past. So I'm going to cover a few things of what I think. This is just my own opinions, and we'll see where that gets me. So for the general, and you can see what we're talking about over here. For the general state of top lane, like I said, I think it's pretty good. I think that there's a lot of different ways to play it right now. As a primarily tank player, you can play tanks even with the fighter meta coming up. Most of the time you're seeing carry tops recently, and you can still play tanks even though they're getting less and less priority, ever since Ornn nerfs especially. So what's good right now? We're going to refer to the competitive tier list. I know it's not the same in solo queue, but honestly anything works in solo queue. You can play anything and have it work in solo queue. So it's not, we're just going to use the easiest reference here. So from 8.1 in top lane, you're saying Gnar, GP, Ornn, Vlad, and Camille is the top 5. So right there, Ornn is the only tank, and these are definitely top 5 characters. I'd say you see these a lot in solo queue too, and a lot of people have gripes with these champions because they're not true fighters, except I'd say Camille is a true fighter. Because Gangplank's more ranged poke with barrels, and parlay with Klepto. You got Gnar, who's Bruiser-ish, but he's also ranged. Vladimir ranged, kind of a Bruiser mage, and then Ornn's a tank. So these are the good picks right now. And you see a lot of complaints about these characters because they're very frustrating to deal with in lane. A lot of them, like Gnar, GP, and Vlad, you're getting poked down by abilities, just stuff from range. Camille, you'll get hit by W a lot, and she brings Comet, so to do extra damage from poke. And Ornn was a tank, and for some reason everybody has huge problems when tanks are good. So what isn't good is basically everything else, and that's how meta works. When you're playing stuff that's not good, or even just average stuff versus these top 5 characters, you're usually going to be at a disadvantage, unless you can find specific counter picks, which do exist. Stuff that isn't good right now is basically anything that isn't economy friendly. All of these champions either gain gold really fast or are economy friendly, especially Ornn. And they're always going to be up in trades because they can easily win with a lower amount of gold as compared to like people like Fiora or people. I wouldn't use Jax as an example because Jax has pretty good base stats, but Fiora is my main example here. Like Fiora needs a lot of time to scale up, and technically so does Camille, but Camille has a slightly better lane phase, and Camille has more options to group, and she's just overall a really good character right now. I think the biggest and the most fair discussion of top lane isn't, oh, top lane sucks, the matchups suck, but top lane sucks when you compare it to a lane like bot lane, where it has a much higher impact. I hear a lot of people talk about how when they're playing top lane and they'll get ahead, it won't impact the game. And I say this a lot. It's kind of like a coin flip in solo queue. You'll win top lane, and then nothing will come from it because the enemy bot lane is getting ahead, and your champion won't be doing nearly as much as the enemy's bot lane champions. And that's always been the case because of bot lane's ability to control the game with jungler and mid. When the enemy bot laner is behind, it's a lot easier to just bring down a mid laner or jungler, dive them, and you're getting another, an extra kill since it's a duo lane, and it's easier to take turret with multiple numbers. That's just how the game is, and I think Demolish has helped that a lot for top laners. Demolish has helped you take advantage of killing your opponent if you're playing a character who brings Resolve. Like for example, you can bring it on Aura, and you can even bring it on Gnar, you can bring it on Maokai, any tank. I bring it on Yorick. When you kill your enemy laner, Demolish does make it feel a little bit better. And especially in solo queue, we all know that bringing TP isn't always amazing, just because it's harder to get those TP plays off that you want to get and bring it to bot lane. While as competitive, it's a lot more organized. You can use your TP, but I think it's a fair argument, and I think that's the only good discussion I see in this top lane sucks meta on Reddit. It's the only good discussion I see is the impact of top lane between bot lane and how to fix that. And I think that is an issue, and I think that's a fair thing to discuss. What I don't think is fair to discuss is like why it's always X meta champions suck. I wish I could play my main, which is, in this case, it's all the Bruiser players. So, what is the problem with Bruisers? And a lot of these people are, I'm assuming, Jax players or Tryndamere players. I can't list them all off the top of my head. But, so, while I was reading the thread on Reddit, a lot of it was talking about how they're not having any fun with the game against the meta picks like Gameplan, Vlad, Gnar, I guess Teemo, and solo queue. And I think a lot of that has to do with blind picking, and they're getting countered because a lot of these players are very limited champion pool or one tricks. So when they're as a one trick before, blind picking can suck. I used to blind pick Wukong and I play versus Renekton. I didn't have any fun. That wasn't fun for me. But I'm not going to go on Reddit and bitch about why aren't they buffing Wukong? Please nerf Renekton. That's just not how the game works. That's one problem with Bruisers. They have a lot of weak matchups right now. Except for maybe Camille. Camille has pretty good matchups into any range character, like especially if you're getting jungle help. And I think a lot of the issues people have with the game comes from when they're losing games to enemy junglers, and I think that's just people venting their frustration in a Reddit thread. Obviously, I don't know that for sure, but that's just my opinion. So the main problem with Bruisers, I'd say, is drafting issue, and then the next issue is one that I think is fair to talk about is Keystones. Some characters just really aren't that great with, or some Bruisers rather, are just not that great with the current Keystones. I played Renekton recently with Press the Attack, and it just feels okay. Like, I played Camille with Press the Attack sometimes, but then, like I said, it's just okay. When the season first began, I realized how good Fervor was. It's not that the new Keystones were trash. It was just, wow, Fervor was actually just overpowered. Fervor was a really big problem. So, I don't think they should bring back Fervor, but they should bring something with a little less, or with the same impact as Fervor, but like a little less oppressive. Fervor was super stupid for trading with people like Renekton and Camille back when it first came out, and you don't want to have that again. And if they do, people like Jax and Camille and Renekton are going to be all over the place and just picked and banned again. So I think Keystones can definitely change, but as for the drafting issues, that would have to be in the player. And I want to talk about the game of League of Legends with this whole Bruiser nonsense again. So, while in this Reddit thread, when I was talking to some people, they were talking about how League isn't a perfect game. That's true. League isn't a perfect game. There are issues all over the place. But that is the existence of League of Legends. It can't be perfect. It is an ever-changing game. Gets patched every other week. with multiple different nerfs, buffs, and changes to the game. And with that, the game can never be perfect. And because of that, not all picks can be good at the same time. Such as, I used to play Lysandra top. Lysandra sucks right now. That's unfortunate, but Lysandra's time will come again. How many times have we seen Renekton come and go from the meta? Many times. How many times have we seen Maokai come and go from meta? A lot. These characters will come and go. GP was out of play for almost a year, and GP's coming back full force with the changes. That's just how the game works, and the game will never stop being that way because it is a competitive game. Every single competitive game online is that way. It's just always changing. Even games that don't change in patch notes still change in how you will play, such as Melee. People have shifted their Melee playstyles over many years as they discover new tech. That is just how competitive games work. If you don't want that, you want one playstyle, you just want to do one thing and it work always, go play Mario Kart. Or speedrun a game. I think that'd be more your style. And that goes to my second point, one playstyle cannot remain. I was talking to someone in the thread, and they were talking about how, okay, they really enjoy Bruisers, so they are only going to be playing Bruisers. And if it's not working, then it's stupid because they're perfecting this Bruiser playstyle, so it should always work if they're the better player. But that's not how the meta works. That's not how a meta shifts. With the meta coming into the game, and it's always changing, something is always going to be better than the other thing, and it might just be countering that. Like right now, if you're going to play 1v1 Bruiser champions, typically their advantage is playing against melee characters. I enjoy playing Tompkins top, but I can't play Tompkins top versus Gnar or Vladimir or any other ranged character because he just gets completely countered by that. So what do I do to avoid that? I find something else to play against those counters, and I do not blind pick Tompkins top ever. I think what a lot of people forget is that League of Legends is a competitive game, and the enemy team is never concerned about how much fun you're having. They just want to win, probably just like you. But if your goal is to win, then you shouldn't be intentionally hindering yourself from trying to win the game by blind picking something that's not meta. That's just the way it is. If you're trying to have fun, play some AMAPs. Play some normals, and then you can blind pick all you want. And then it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But if you're playing ranked and you're getting upset over your playstyle not working versus the current meta, that's the purpose of ranked. Ranked is to demonstrate which players have the skill and better idea of winning the game in the meta. So, how do you deal with the current top lane situation happening right now? Is the same exact way you deal with it every patch. You just have to find new picks. New picks that work against the champions that you'll play against. For example, these characters aren't meta that I play, but let's say I pick Yorick into Vladimir. It works. I've done it before. It has a good matchup. Vladimir loses that matchup. Great. So now I have something to pick if someone tries to blind pick Vladimir, which happens a lot. Say someone blind picks Camille. I will pick Urgot, or I will pick Tom Kenchtop, or something, or Cho'Gath. Something that these things aren't, or maybe Cho'Gath's a little bit meta, but the other characters, you're just trying something new. You can't pick Jax into everything and expect Jax to win every matchup. If I pick Jax into Camille, I'm going to have a great time because Jax shits on Camille. If I pick Jax into Fiora, it'll be a skill matchup. If I pick Jax into Riven, it's another skill matchup. If I pick Jax into Kled, that Kled's going to have a terrible time. It's just, you gotta, all these champions have different matchups, and there's no one champion that just shits on everything. If I see a Gnar in my game, I pick Lulu top. Lulu top hasn't been meta for 3 seasons, but Lulu top still shits on Gnar just the same as she shit on him 3 seasons ago. Some people, you can also pick Kinnan to Gnar. He shits on that character. Every character has counters, except for maybe Orianna, but we're talking about top lane. So, I'm kind of rambling, and I've gotten over all the little points I have here on this notepad. I think, overall, it's really not that bad top lane. And I think it's one of the more balanced patches it's been in a long time. I haven't gone over items like Bramble Vest, which honestly I think is pretty terrible. Like, Bramble Vest is hardly worth picking up early game anymore, even if you're playing a tank. I think people have a lot of the wrong idea with how to go and deal with the situation you're given, instead of bitching at Riot to try and make it better for yourself. I think that's all I have to go over. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask that in comments. I'll probably be responding to a lot of them if they're logical questions and not just spewing bullshit. So, have at it, guys. Thanks for listening.